It's been over a year since I did the unboxing for the Vesta faceting machine, and I know many people have been wanting to see the follow-up review video, and finally I have the time and the machine and everything's ready to go, and today we are going to cut a stone and see how it all goes on the Vesta faceting machine. So you may have seen the unboxing videos that I did last year. Vesta was kind enough to send me this machine for free with the agreement that I would do a couple of videos to talk about the machine and then donate the machine to the Faceting Museum after that. These opinions are mine. They haven't asked me to say or do anything specific. I'm just going to show you what I see, and I'm going to let you guys decide for yourself what do you think about the machine. Part of the reason why it took me so long to do this review video, I meant to do it immediately after the machine came, and I actually did cut a couple of stones on the machine, but then I quickly found out that there was something wrong with the machine that they sent me. There was something wrong with the gear mechanism in the head, and I didn't feel like it was fair to review a machine that had something wrong with it. So they sent me a new one, and I sent the old one back. So we are going to cut a stone today and see how it goes. So what I'm going to be doing today, I've got a nice piece of Burmese purplish gray spinel. So we're going to go through all the steps of turning this rough into a cut stone. Preforming, cutting, polishing, everything. We're going to do it all here. I'm going to show you guys some of the key moments, and I don't know what's going to happen yet. I have never used the new head since they sent it to me, so I'm just going out on a limb here and doing a review on an untested thing. But I guess that's how it should be. We can get the honest first opinion and see how it goes. So I'm going to be doing sort of an American style design today. It's one that I made up myself. I figured since most people are looking at this machine as a mast machine, I would cut something appropriate on it that has faceted girdles, and it's going to start with the pavilion, go to the girdle, pavilion first. So just kind of the normal American style. I'm not going to do any weird stuff here, just very normal meat point faceting, and see if this machine can hold up to what I want it to do. So before we get started on the stones, let's just check out the machine real quick, see what we have here. So this is the second version of the Vesta machine. So we've got a mast set up here. The mast is attached to the base by this rotating base locking thing. So you can slide it back and forth like this, and then when you want to lock it, you just pull it towards you. And it's pretty sturdy, actually. I was pretty impressed with that. The riser plate for the head is just this white plastic thing, so you put it up and down and you lock it, and then you have fine adjustment of your mast height here. We've got angle with our decimal indexer divisor thing here. We've got what is essentially a depth gauge here. This works exactly the way as an analog depth gauge. When you get it down to the actual final number that you've locked it at, you hit 0, and you can adjust your angle down here, your hard stop, and then you've got your fine adjustment here. And then whenever you have it at the angle that you're happy with, so I'm looking down here, I'm happy that it's on 70. Okay, that's my 0, and then I can just zero it out, and that pretty much works well as a depth gauge. What else is here? We've got index gear. So this is just a normal index 96. There's a screw here that loosens the dop and tightens. One thing to note, my original machine had a plastic screw here, and I kind of advised them like that. This isn't a good idea, it's going to break, because we use this all the time, and so the new one they sent me had a metal one. There's also speed control, power, water. The water thing's pretty simple. It's basically just like a water tank that they've, I guess, bought and attached this plastic tube onto, and it just slides down onto this metal base. It's not the most glamorous thing, but it's okay. And then you can twist this and your water starts going. Now we have to start off this whole review and this whole examination of this machine by talking about the price point, because the price point is really what's really interesting about this machine. I forget off the top of my head, maybe it's about $1,200, $1,300. You can buy it off their website, you can buy it on Facebook. I'm going to put links below, and maybe somewhere up here there's going to be a little pop-up screen that shows what their Facebook is. So this is coming from Vietnam. So the people that make this are Vietnamese, their website's in Vietnamese, their Facebook page is in English, and the prices are on the Facebook page, so maybe it's easier to order that way, or just email them. So $1,200, $1,300, this is a budget machine. So comparing this to an Ultratech V5, to a polymetric scintillator, even to a Facetron might not be fair. I mean, comparing this to a Graves, Mark 1, 2, 3, you know, the non-digital Graves would be fair. Comparing this to any of the other mass machines that are made in other countries outside of America and Australia maybe could be fair. The interesting thing about this machine is the fact that it is just over $1,000 plus shipping. So that's where I'm gonna come from, and not expect it to do every possible thing, but just see if it can properly cut a stone for an entry-level cutter. You know, this is who I imagine would really want this machine. Somebody who hasn't cut before, somebody who wants to learn how to cut, doesn't want to spend $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 on a machine. So that's my mentality as I approach this. So let's get into it. Okay, I've got my design over here, got my stone. I've got a 360 lap on. First thing I'm going to do, just some slight hand preforming. When you have the speed all the way on 0, it's off. So this can go really slow up to, let's see, the fastest speed. Yeah, super fast. Probably wouldn't really run it that fast. It's causing a tornado in here. Okay, so I'm on speed 3. I'm starting with a sort of ovally shape, so I'm just going to turn it into something more like an emerald cut, and just let me get off some of the cracks and bumps and stuff. So cool. So let's get on to the real faceting. So we'll just apply some glue to the dop, and I'll just use the dop stand as my dopping station. So these dops are keyed. This is going to be my first time using keyed dops, and I'm doing an emerald cut design, which might prove challenging. I'm trying to line up my shape with the key so it doesn't give me any troubles. So the base of this machine has a water drip tank that's kind of, it's not attached to it, but once you set up the machine and put it in there, the water drip tank doesn't, or the water drip pan doesn't really easily come off anymore. This pan has a tube that goes down, and then the rubber tube that is your wastewater disposal kind of plugs into it, but once you make that connection, it's not very easy to pull this thing out, which might prove annoying, you know, over the life of the machine, because every time you take this off, it's kind of a chore to put the tube back in. It's pretty hard to put it in there. So I've got now a 600 sintered lap, quite a bit bigger and heavier than the 360 plated that I was using before. And okay, so we will transfer that into the machine. And so the key just slides right down in there, lock it. Now, the strange thing about this machine, maybe the strangest thing, is that they've cut out this hole for a splash guard. And this is hard plastic, it doesn't flex at all. It's, you know, it's just sort of, I don't know, hard plastic. And they've included this sort of flexy piece of plastic here as the splash guard. But there's not really any way of fixing it on there. I've just used like a black alligator clip, because otherwise it just sort of sits in there in this weird way and gets in the way of the lap. So I've just tried to make it a little more rigid, I guess, by fixing it to there. But I think that's a bit of a design flaw, you know, something that they haven't really considered that they need to consider, but it's not a deal breaker at this point. And I think you could easily construct something of your own to put into this gap. So let's see. But for now I can take it off because I'm going to start with my girdle outline for the emerald cut shape. The index gear is a little bit hard to read. It only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers on it. So you just got your 8 main numbers. And I don't know, it's backwards than the way that I'm used to doing it. So the numbers are going sort of counterclockwise. Yeah. So 12 is to the right when I'm looking at 96 at the top. It's a little strange to me, but again, no big deal. Not a deal breaker at least. Okay, the index gear is keyed too, so there's not going to be any repositioning of the index gear. It only goes in one way, and it's aligned to the DOP key. That's interesting. I didn't see that before. Okay, so slide that back into the key. So yeah, to me, I don't know how everyone else deals with this issue, but to me, I don't know. To me, this is a problem, especially on something like an emerald cut. I've now glue dopped it. This isn't a high-end stone, but if it was, I wouldn't want to recut the girdle. You know, I've already made my girdle shape roughly. I definitely wouldn't even want it to turn 1 or 2 degrees. So now that since the key can only go in one way, I mean, you could just deactivate the key by not putting the DOP in all the way. You know, I could just. Actually, that's what I'm going to do because I don't know if I don't know if I perfectly aligned it with the key, and if I put the key DOP into the key, I don't know if it's going to be straight with the lap. So let's check it and see. So I'm going to put this onto 90. So loosen up the hard stop, push it up till it hits. Basically, it's hitting the fine adjustment knob back here. So this is basically the exact same system that I think the old Ultratechs used to use. I'm not sure if they still do, but like my old V2 was pretty much like this. The hard stop would hit the soft stop, and this one just has this extra little plate that will also hit this digital dial. So okay, I'm gonna put this on there, put this on to 0, and then I'll just use my fine adjustment knob to make sure that it's really on 0. Okay, so the old machine that I had, the part of the thing that was wrong with it, and the reason why I didn't want to do the review was there was something wrong with the internal gears, and every time I'd go up and back down, it wouldn't come back down on the same number. Like if I had it on 0, sometimes it'd come back down on 1 or -1, and obviously you can't really cut that way, so I didn't want to do the review that way. So okay, I'm going to loosen this thing so I can go down, and I'm going to loosen this thing so I can back up, so I can not cut into my quill, and I'll just keep going down here until the stone touches the lap. Yeah, that's good. And then I can do fine adjustments this way. But for now, I'm mostly just concerned with getting my preform aligned. Ooh, and I did a good job because I'm perfectly lined up with the lap, and the key slides right in. So, okay, I successfully did my first keyed emerald cut. Okay, so the glue should be dry. I need to make my outline shape, the emerald cut shape. Normally when I do emerald cuts on my handpiece, because I don't have this sort of mast height fixed depth thing, I just measure each corner and make sure that they're all the exact same width with a millimeter gauge. I'm going to try not to do that because I think with this machine I should be able to just bring all the corners down to the same depth by not adjusting the depth of the mast, and see if I can make a perfect emerald cut that way. Let's try it out. So I'm going to do my long sides first. So let's get the water going, let's get the motor going. One thing interesting, there's like a 2 or 3 second delay when you put it on. It's 2 or 3 seconds and then the motor starts going. I think that has to do with the digital speed controller, but I'm not totally sure. Also, if I press really hard, I could probably stop the motor, or I can at least slow it down. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna do the 96 and the 48 side. Just make them flat. Okay. And let's just actually make sure that I'm perfectly flat on 0. I didn't double check what angle I was at, so. Okay, so right there is just the bare minimum touch. So that side's flat. Now we'll go to the 48 side, not change any setting. Yeah, I think the index gear really needs black numbers and lines. It's pretty hard to tell. Even when I'm on a 48, without like the reflection of the light, I can't really see, but I think that's an easy fix. So I'm gonna go down a little bit. Somehow I think this thing just, either this moved or maybe I was supposed to set the angle before I started, but this, I had it on 43, but I was at really like something like 70, so let's try that again. 43.5. Hopefully my girdles were really at 90. Okay, let's try that again. So I finished cutting most of the facets on the pavilion. I've got all my mains balanced out. My girdle facet line is there. And I'm getting very frustrated with this machine. There's a couple issues that I would say are still really major that would really prevent me from recommending this machine. First thing, and this is just such a deal breaker, and I'm sad to have to report it because so much of the machine works really, really well. Like, it's pretty smooth. The facets are coming in, you know, nice and even. The water drip. It's not very loud. You know, there's so many things about the machine that I like. But, and this is the problem that I was having with the previous head that they sent me. The angle dial keeps moving, and I'm not sure why. Basically, about 5 times now I've gone back to a facet that I've already cut, and I put it on the exact same number, and it's dramatically off, like 5 degrees difference. And then I look at the number, and sometimes I go up, and I'm at 48 and a half. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's doing it, but sometimes you go up, you go down, and it's at the different number. And sometimes it's like 20 numbers off, and I didn't touch this thing at first, but just through the course of cutting and going around and doing everything I needed to do, the numbers are changing. And I've had to put this back to 90 degrees about 3 times, even now. Yeah, I just set this about 5 minutes ago. You know, this is pretty much straight, you know, close enough, and you can see that it's now on 17 degrees. So now I have to basically loosen this, turn this back to 0. I have no idea if it's really on 0, and I have no idea if it was on 0 before. And now I'm in 32. Now I'm on 34. I can feel something inside happening. There's something slipping or moving. I'm not sure what it is. I can feel whenever it changes. Now I'm at 37. not doing anything, you know, not cutting, nothing. So I don't think I'm even going to finish this stone because I don't want to ruin the rough, and I feel like I'm just trying to fix the meet points, and then the angle's radically different, and then I recut all the tier and it does the same thing again. So that's the first problem. So the other thing is this issue of the gears getting stuck inside of here is becoming a problem because they keep getting stuck about a centimeter before I hit the lap, and I'm going down to make these super fine, you know, my brake brilliant facets. Like one tiny touch is all I need to put them in exactly perfect. I go down and the gear gets stuck, and I'm very close to the lap, and I push it a little bit harder to push past the stuck gear, and it hits the lap and overcuts the facet. And I've done that about 4 times. So between the angle changing and the gear getting stuck and then causing me to overcut every time, I'm just too frustrated with this. The other little thing is this screw right here, which is the screw for tightening in the dop, you know, because it's right here, it's sort of in your way, but sometimes, a couple times it's gotten loose, and it hasn't moved because since it's keyed, it's actually not that big of a deal, but you know, so it's gotten loose a couple times. So I don't know, I feel like this machine is like 90% there. It looks nice, it's pretty well thought out. It's just something inside of the gearbox. I mean, you can see right there, it shouldn't be able to hang, you know, there's nothing inside to stop it, or there shouldn't be. I don't know if this is something that will, and you see now I'm at 45, so my numbers have, and I haven't, well, maybe I changed the numbers, I'm not sure, but I don't know. You know, what's making it stop right here? Now I'm at 40. It just changed 5 degrees. So, you know, it's just a bit weird that this is so easy to turn. You know, it's like, how can you trust the machine if you don't know what angle you're on? And I think anyone who's ever faceted before knows if you don't know what angle you're on, you just, I mean, the whole thing is ruined. And that's pretty much my disappointed final statement of this machine is, this is the second head I've had. I've had the same problem with both heads. The angle, it's not fixed. I don't know what's happening with the gears, but it's, I mean, you're watching it, even if we take out the depth gauge and just use it without that. So there's nothing hitting, but there's still something stopping it. And then also this can slip. The hard stop can slip. I've actually had that same issue on old Ultratechs. The hard stop can slip, like this thing just, I don't know, maybe it needs a rubber thing in there or something, but I don't know, you know, it's like a dream, you know, you want to find a $1,200 fastening machine that is as good as anything, but I don't think this is the one. Sorry guys, sorry to Vesta, you know, I really waited a long time for them to give me a new head because I didn't want to give a bad review. I didn't want to take all this time to say it doesn't work, but you know, I'm a very experienced gem cutter and I don't want to finish this stone, so I just can't imagine if I was a brand new cutter just trying to learn, like this would make you hate faceting and you know, like not being able to go back to the same angles. I mean, I haven't even got to polishing. What's going to happen when I go to polish and all my angles have changed? It's just not going to work. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be frustrating. And, you know, I know that there's other machines for $1,200 that are not mass machines that work really well. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's going to be a revision 3 that's going to solve this problem. We can only hope because, you know, I want these guys to do good. I'm very excited about the faceting industry of Vietnam because, like, they're, as I said, they're 90% there. A little tweak and maybe that'll be it. But for now, I think this thing, yeah, I don't know. It's just not there yet, unfortunately. And I feel like anybody that is new to faceting is going to struggle so much with, you know, with playing with this. Sorry, Faceting world, sorry, Vesta, sorry, everybody. But I unfortunately cannot recommend this machine. And I hope maybe they will get a third version out there. And if so, I'm happy to, if you know, maybe they can send me another head, the VFM2, I guess it would be. Because everything else is there, you know, the cheater, the index gear, you know, the only other improvement I think they need is a locking thing to keep this open so you can free spin girdles. But other than that, you know, it looks good. It's all there. But, you know, without the angle, what can you do? You can't do too much because you can't trust the machine. So that's all I have to say about that. Just wanted to see, since we're looking, well, let's look and see what's inside of here. Yeah, not much. Yeah, there's nothing in here to lock this to any, you know, it's just sitting in here. It's just the tension of the screw holding it in that's keeping it at the position that it's in. I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. I've taken apart old Ultratech mechanisms, and they're quite complicated, you know, spring action complicated to keep it in the same place all the time. I think this is probably a little bit too simple. You know, it's just wherever you tighten it at, and yeah, I just don't think that's going to work for, you know, the hobby cutting community that wants to do competition cutting. You know, they really need to be able to go back and find the angle again. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm gonna keep doing these kind of reviews if I can. I'd love to show you guys some of the other machines that I know are being built in Vietnam, in India, in Sri Lanka, and wherever else I find them. So if you guys see ones that you want me to review and I can get them to send me one, I'll be happy to do it. It'd be great to, because I have so many machines here, I could put them all side by side and say, here's how they compare. So yeah, I'd love to compare this one to other machines as well. So let's see where it goes in the future. But I'll check you guys later. This has been Justin Kate Prim out here in Bangkok. I'll see you guys next time.